Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is why Belgium's Prime Minister thinks Belgium shouldn't exist. Yeah, this is about channel TLDR news, I guess. Yeah, this is some next level shit. Talking about having something opposite of patriotism, Prime Minister of all people, not previous, not former, current Belgium's Prime Minister thinks Belgium shouldn't even be a country. How did he come to power? Does that mean the people in Belgium doesn't want Belgium to be a country? What do they want? Getting consumed by France or what is it? What are the Netherlands? Right? Yeah, Dutch. Do they want to be Dutch? What is it? I don't know. So Hitler thought the same thing, I guess. In both World War I and World War II, Germany thought the same thing. Belgium doesn't exist. Just use that as a road. Yeah. I don't know what's happening here. I like this channel because like when it comes to like global politics, it's usually like America, others Iran, Russia. Usually European news, like most, you don't hear about it. Like at least I don't, right? At least most world don't. If you live in Europe, you probably do. But yeah, shit like this, you don't hear about it. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Let's watch it.
Last week, Belgium celebrated its National Day. But for Belgian Prime Minister Bart De Wever, it was not much of a celebration. When asked by journalists, Prime Minister De Wever refused to say Vive la Belgique, or Long Live Belgium. This was not an accidental faux pas, because as a Flemish nationalist, De Wever doesn't really think Belgium should exist. In fact, just a couple of years ago, De Wever said he would die happier as a Southern Dutchman than as a Belgian. And earlier this year said that the separation of what is now Belgium from the Netherlands was, quote,
Does he think if Belgium becomes Netherlands, he's suddenly going to be 6 foot tall or something? How tall is he? Alright, this shit is ridiculous. Like, okay, are there in Belgium people watching? Like, what is your opinion on this? What is the opinion of people there? Do they share the same opinion? Because this is so insane to me. Like, I've never heard of shit like this.
The greatest disaster that has ever befallen us. So in this video, we're going to explore the Flemish separatist movement, explain how De Wever reluctantly became Prime Minister, and whether or not he could actually split the country up.
It's not really a separatist movement. They don't want to be separate. They just want to dissolve.
If you're interested in the political alliances and groupings which shape our world, then you might enjoy our poster, Every Alliance Explained. It shows, in slightly confusing detail, all of the world's major alliances and how different countries link together. Check out the poster by clicking the link in the description. Don't already know, Belgium is made up of 3 regions. Flanders in the north, which is predominantly Dutch-speaking, Wallonia, primarily French-speaking, in the south, and Brussels, the capital, which is bilingual. But De Wever, meanwhile, is certainly an interesting character. He has, for example, been voted Politician of the Year and Dick of the Year several times each, even managing to win both awards in the same year. But more importantly, over the past 2 decades, he's taken his new Flemish...
Wait a minute, is that an official award? Is that what you're saying? There's an award for that? Dick of the Year, okay.
Flemish Alliance Party, or NVA, from essentially political irrelevance to being the largest political force in the country, with it consistently being the largest party in both the Flemish and federal parliaments for more than a decade, and De Wever ultimately became Prime Minister earlier this year. His policy proposals, particularly on Flemish separatism, have shifted and largely moderated over the years. But he is ultimately still a believer in independence for Flanders, and, based on some of his comments, is apparently emotionally attached to the idea of Dutch reunification, even if it's not a part of his political platform, which we'll come back to later. Flemish separatists, ranging from autonomists to outright secessionists, usually make their case by pointing to socio-economic, political and cultural divides between Flanders and Wallonia, with their main complaints being that the current setup is a recipe for infamous political gridlock, and that, as the wealthier, more populous region, Flanders is a net contributor to the federal budget, while Wallonia, the less wealthy region with higher...
Oh, shit. I remember people saying like China is getting so bigger and so wealthier so fast that it's going to create a divide between rich cities and poor rural areas, or shit like that, which will split the country. Is this that embodying it basically. Like Flanders being rich, or we do so much, we are rich, we are productive, while Wallonia is not, so we shouldn't be a country. Is that what's happening? And why would you become a prime minister if you have no ambition of governing a country that you think shouldn't exist? I mean, I get it, like you have a movement, like okay, separatist movement or whatever, like we want to dissolve. Being prime minister means you're running a country, but you don't want that country to exist. How are you going to run it? Like, I don't know.
Unemployment is a net recipient. In fact, De Wever once controversially likened interregional transfers to Wallonia to drugs for a junkie. For context, Belgium emerged as an independent kingdom through the 1830 Belgian Revolution against Dutch Protestant rule. But the Flemish movement first emerged largely as a cultural movement, seeking equal linguistic rights for the Dutch-speaking majority, as newly independent Belgium was dominated by a French-speaking Walloon ruling class. In the decades after World War II,
What is that stock footage? Oh, look at my suit, look at my phone, but at the same time, I'm eating some kind of bread.
Flemish nationalism strengthened as a political force, driven by a shift in Belgium's economic centre of gravity. Wallonia, previously the wealthier region, suffered sharp industrial decline, while Flanders, once an agricultural backwater, enjoyed an economic boom, spurred by growth in light industry, services, commerce and trade. Throughout the 1960s, the People's Union made gains at successive elections. This was a big tent Flemish nationalist party that included Flemings from federalists to secessionists. Its growth contributed to a series of major state reforms that, from 1970 to 1993, turned Belgium into a pretty uniquely complex federal state, divided along regional and linguistic/cultural lines. In short, Belgium is divided into 3 regions, dealing with so-called hard matters like the economy, infrastructure and employment, and 3 language-based communities, dealing with soft matters like education, health and welfare, leaving the country with a total of 6 parliaments and 6 governments. The move towards federalism did not satisfy the secessionists and further right factions of the Flemish movement, which formed Flemish Bloc, a far-right anti-immigration secessionist party that grew considerably.
How the fuck did Belgium survive all this time if they were literally had this kind of a divide there, even at the government level? If you're not going to see yourself as one unit country, I mean every country has their internal issues, but if this is the level of divide they have, how did it survive 200 years, like nearly 200 years now?
Considerably through the 1990s and early 2000s, eclipsing the declining People's Union and becoming one of the most popular parties in Flanders by 2004, before it was dissolved after being convicted of discrimination. These days, the Flemish nationalist movement is represented by 2 main parties, the New Flemish Alliance, or NVA, and Flemish Interest. As we've mentioned, the NVA is the party of Prime Minister De Wever, and during his 2-decade leadership, he's transformed it from a single-issue party into a distinctly conservative party with broader appeal. De Wever softened the party's position on independence, and while that does remain its ultimate dream, it sees this as a longer-term gradual project, for now officially advocating for what it calls confederalism, a setup that would see the regions basically take on all powers and responsibilities except only those few that are voluntarily ceded to a jointly run confederal level. Flemish Interest, meanwhile, considered a far-right party, is more forcefully pro-independence, stating that it wants to bring about the orderly division of Belgium, a negotiated process that would be kick-started by a declaration of sovereignty. It's the successor of the dissolved Flemish Bloc, but did not see its own support surge until the latter half of the 2010s, when, like many other anti-establishment European parties, it made significant gains, thanks to its staunchly anti-immigration.
Yeah, I mean immigration. In Europe, immigration is a big issue nowadays, so it's like fueling this shit up. But I guess like how did he become prime minister is because the other one was just point blank, like fuck it, dissolve it now. Or the other guys like we'll do that in the future, but right now let's govern shit. So that's how he like these are the 2 options. So people chose that option, I guess.
Nationalistic stance, though a cordon sanitaire has kept it out of government at the Flemish and federal level. Right up until the 2024 election, Flemish Interest had looked set to win both the Flemish and federal parliamentary elections, in what would have been a double first. However, De Wever's NVA managed to defy the polls and place first in both elections. A federal coalition led by De Wever's N-VA was one of few viable options due to parliamentary arithmetic, and after more than 200 days of negotiations, an agreement was reached that made De Wever, begrudgingly, Belgium's first Flemish nationalist prime minister in early February. But don't be fooled into thinking that this means that Flemish independence or even confederalism is on the horizon anytime soon. Firstly, the reality of coalition politics means that Bart De Wever is not really in the position to pursue it. And in fact, the only institutional reform set out in the coalition agreement is to abolish the Senate. And while it says De Wever will draw up proposals for further state reform, these are by no means guaranteed to come to fruition. In the meantime, the main priorities for reform appear to be socio-economic ones, with major changes set out for tax, pensions and the labour market. And secondly, there isn't actually majority support for independence, despite the recent success of separatist parties in Flanders.
The thing with it, Belgium is like it's already part of European Union, so there's like many layers to it. It's not like any other country. Any country in the European Union is just like, okay. I mean, people want to do certain things, but they're all part of European Union anyway, right? Like, yeah. And there might be many hurdles behind it. So like, people might, let's not do it. Why do it? What's the point now? So unless something extreme happens that drive people for that kind of a split, I don't see that shit happening anyway.
At the 2024 Flemish election, the N-VA and Flemish Interest won a combined 47% of the vote. But remember that officially the N-VA advocates for confederalism, not secession. And a pre-election poll found that Flemish voters put migration and the economy at the top of their list of the most important issues, while just 4% said it was the structure of the
state. Damn! Migration is the top one, even above economy. I don't care if we don't make money, but we need to figure out about migration. Like, okay. I mean, people always tell me in the comments like, oh, Europe is really bad when it comes to migration and things, but alright. Apparently it's really extreme.
State. Nevertheless, it remains to be seen whether De Wever learns to love what is already quite an unforgiving job. But for now, the slightly surreal reality of a Flemish separatist Belgian Prime Minister continues, and barring snap elections, he may well be the one who has to plan and oversee the 200th anniversary of Belgian independence in 2030. If you want to know more about this topic, then there's plenty of other outlets reporting on it too.
There you go. Yeah, but go to ground.news/TLDR and support this channel. Yeah, okay. I mean, with many political shenanigans, he came to power, obviously, but he's not like somebody who just like point blank majority voted or some shit like that. Like, yeah, right, he came to power. And he's not the extreme one. The other one is extreme. But again, like something drastic, if something drastic happens, then I see like movement getting traction. After 200 years being part of European Union, I don't see Belgium suddenly like, oh, you know what? Flanders is gonna go to the Dutch. Others gonna go to France. Yeah, I don't see that shit happening. Right, well, that was why Belgium's prime minister think Belgium shouldn't exist. Like, okay, but if you have this kind of a mentality, you still have to say Viva la whatever the fuck that was. Right? Whatever in the Belgium, whatever that was, like, yeah, patriotism. You have to show patriotism for your country if you're an official prime minister, even if you don't want to. While being prime minister, you are representing your country at the global stage. If you're doing that shit, if you're saying like, oh, I don't care, like, I'm not going to say like, long live Belgium, that is next level shit. Especially if your views, like in the future, we'll see about it. That's your view. Why would you not say that? All right. All right, well, I'll see you next time.